Thank you, Chancellor Martin, and thank you, President Willemsen, John Burke, and everyone at the International University in Geneva for asking me to speak to such an elite group of young people, our future generation, the generation that I and my peers are counting on to pay for our pension funds. No pressure. Good morning, graduating class of 2018. How do you guys feel? Yes. You look fabulous. I did hear some hooping and hollering earlier, so I'm looking forward to having a drink with you at lunchtime. Well, your homework is done, but I had homework for today. And my homework was to say a few words that hopefully will inspire you, motivate you, and nudge you a little farther down your path in life. And like any self-aware person of my age, I enrolled a millennial to help me. And that millennial was my daughter. My daughter's 20. She is just finished her second year in university. And I asked her, I said, when you're going to get your diploma, what do you want to hear? And she said, Mom, I will have spent pretty much my whole life in school. When I get that diploma and I walk out the door, I'm going to be scared out of my brains. And I want to be reassured. Aha, reassurance. Okay, so on behalf of my daughter, I would like to reassure you. It's totally scary out there. Fear is a mighty emotion. It will keep you away from walking down dark alleys at night. Hopefully, it'll keep you from doing silly things like base jumping. But when it comes to making decisions about your metaphorical path in life, fear makes crap decisions. Fear paralyzes, as Chancellor Martin told us earlier today. Fear will keep you from your dreams. And if you let fear have its way, instead of your life being filled with accomplishments, it will be full of regrets and what-ifs. I have been scared my whole life. Fear kept me from my childhood dream of being a dancer. I started ballet classes when I could barely walk. I went on to a performing arts high school where I trained 4 to 6 hours a day in dance. I was among the elite group of dancers. I was offered scholarships to prominent universities to join their dance program. But I saw my predecessors who were in New York sharing one-bedroom apartments with 5 other girls and were struggling just to survive, much less excel in the dance world. And I was horribly scared of failure. So my last year in high school, I did a 180-degree turn. I decided, no thank you, I will not accept those beautiful and expensive scholarships. I will pay my way through an international affairs degree because I thought that I'd get a great job and make lots of money. I don't regret that choice. After all, I wouldn't be standing in front of you and speaking today had I not made that choice. What I regret immensely and profoundly is that I never tried. I never tried to be the dancer I thought I could be. And to this day, that regret consumes me on occasion, and I mourn the dancer that I never was. But I learned pretty quickly what kind of beast fear can be, and I started fighting it head on. So I left my hometown in Texas, and I went to get an international affairs degree in Washington, D.C. From there, as you've heard, I moved to Africa. I landed a local contract with an NGO fighting AIDS. I lived for 8 years in developing countries in Africa. During that time, I came way too close to comfort to no less than 3 coups d'etat. I almost lost my daughter, my first child, to poor medical conditions in one of those countries. But my first encounter on a professional level with fear was when I was assistant liaison officer for a company in Comoros Islands. Our company had a government contract for certain services, and the contract was mandated by the IMF. And the government was not too keen on being told what to do, so they weren't paying our bills. And so headquarters in Geneva had been negotiating for months, trying to get an appointment with the Minister of Finance to no avail, to the point where headquarters told me and my 2 expat colleagues that if a solution wasn't found by the end of the month, we would be let go and the office would be closed. One fine morning, my country manager, my boss, had left the country. I was alone running the office, and headquarters called, my big boss, and he says, "I've got great news, Paige. We've got a meeting with the Minister of Finance. However, it's this afternoon, and the only person that can get there in time is you." Okay. I was 23. I was a white woman in the federal Islamic state of Comoros, and my company was sending me to the wolves to negotiate a contract with a man twice my age for 75 million Comorian francs. I was scared out of my mind. And I thought, you know what? If I don't go, I won't have to negotiate, and therefore I won't fail. If I don't go, I won't fail. And then I realized from previous experience that that was a crap decision. I knew that not going was failure. And I also knew that not only my job was on the line, but my 2 expat colleagues' jobs were on the line. And we had 25 local staff. Their jobs were on the line. And I knew that those 25 salaries fed at least 100 people. So I felt that fear and I did it anyway. I grabbed a driver, mainly because I was shaking so badly I couldn't drive myself. And also, I kind of thought I might need a bodyguard. I had no idea what to expect. And in the 15-minute drive from my office to the ministry, I had thoroughly convinced myself they were going to pluck me out of the car and put me on the next boat to Europe. But fortunately, I got to the ministry. I waited for several hours. I was finally ushered in to this massive office, and I was greeted by a figure of majesty. This man, the Minister of Finance, was dressed magnificently in silver and gold tunic and a kufi cap, and his mahogany hand-carved off desk was bigger than my car. And I probably looked like Bambi in the headlights. I don't remember a word of what I said in that meeting. I don't remember what was said in that meeting. All I know is that half an hour later, I walked out with a handwritten note from the Minister of Finance to the National Bank saying, "Please give this woman 75 million Comorian francs." I was literally in shock, and I knew it wasn't over because I still had to get all that cash from the National Bank into my company's bank. So I grabbed my driver. We sped over to National Bank. I sat there for a couple hours counting out 75 million Comorian francs, put it in a couple of plastic bags, ran like a bandit to the car, sped across town to my company's bank where I met the bank director and counted out the money again. He put it in the vault, gave me a receipt, handwritten. I drove back to the office, called headquarters, said it was done. I got a proverbial pat on the back down the phone line and the privilege to keep my job. I didn't get a bonus. I didn't get a word of thanks from those 25 people whose jobs I just saved. They didn't even know that their jobs were in danger. The payback that I got is that I proved to myself that I had the courage to fight my fear. And I got the best story to tell at every single job interview I ever had after that. Fear will be your sparring partner all your life. If you do not feel fear regularly, you are not living up to your potential. Or you're a psychopath. Fear was, again, my old friend Fear, my sparring partner about a year ago, when I decided to join a startup media company. Startup, media company. Generally not a good combo these days. Job security out the window. Speaking of pension funds, Is there a pension fund? And speaking of fear of failure, I was the first employee, the only employee, and my boss sent me an email of bullet lists with the business plan and the strategy, and he said, go for it. Well, today we are 30 staff. We're another 20 in outsourced and freelancers, representing 11 nationalities, and half of my staff are women. After just 5 months of broadcast, 24 hours, I may say, CNNMONEY Switzerland has already made its small place on the media landscape in Switzerland. Now, since I had some hooping and hollering there, I'm going to go back to the fact that half of our team is female. On top of that, my 4 stars, my 4 anchors are female. I'm quite proud of the choices I made for my team, and I defend those choices fiercely. And that leads me to something that I want to say to the women in the room. Because we women, we have our own particular set of fears, don't we? And the only way we're going to fight them is together. We have to encourage one another. You are very lucky amongst yourselves to have women like Davika and Anna Greta to be your role models. Congratulations for that. But you are in a time today where there are enough seats at the table. In the recent past, even in my recent past, women had to fight each other just to get a seat at the table. That is not your case today, but you have to do it together and encourage one another. There are men in this room sitting next to you that will help you, encourage you, and guide you. But ultimately, women's struggle is their own, and we have to fight our own fears and do it together. So encourage your fellow women. Please tell them to take their seat at the table and not the chair in the corner. Tell them to speak freely. And for the love of Mary, don't raise your hand. Raise your voice. I guarantee you that your ideas are just as important as anyone else's in the room. If you do this now, and you do it consistently, encourage each other. Women, encourage your peers. Then maybe, just maybe, we won't need another Me Too movement. So fighting fear is like working out for me. The more you do it, the stronger you become. And here's an exercise tip I'll leave you with. When fear creeps up and you have a decision to make, ask yourself this question: what kind of person am I? Am I the kind of person that can walk across a crowded room and shake hands with the CEO whose company I want to work for? Or am I the kind of person that's going to stick around in the corner, too scared to perhaps embarrass myself? Am I the kind of person that will take a risk for others or for things that I believe in? Or am I the kind of person that will sit at the office and let others decide by fate? Ask yourselves the question, what kind of person am I? And then fill that answer with the kind of person you want to be. So yes, people, it's scary out there. But if you want something you've never had, you will have to do something you have never done. So be courageous. Fight for your dreams. Speak up for yourselves and what you believe in. Feel the fear and do it anyway. We are counting on you. Good luck.
Interesting that you took the fear. We actually didn't coordinate our speeches talking about fear all the time. So I hope Nick will not talk of fear as well.
There's a common thread.
There's a common thread. I have the honor of handing the certificate of Doctor Honoris Causa to PAIGE HOLT from the International University with all the rights and privileges pertaining hereto. I don't know what they are, but
I'll stick around and find out. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.